They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck. Well, here we are.
Are we here?
Here we are, I guess. Hell, I guess we're here.
Well, hey, while we're here, guys, everybody knows you can go to WellRED.comedy.com. That's WellRED comedy.com. You can sign up for our newsletter so you can find out when we're going to be in your area once we all get, once everything's safe and whatnot. We do some live streams from time to time, and they've been fun. We don't have one on the schedule, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did soon. If you like this podcast, I guarantee you'll like our sister podcast you boys got Through the Screen Door. Drew Morgan has Into the Biscuit with DJ Lewis, and Trae Crowder has The Evening Skews with Smart Mark Agee. That is on this feed. You can find all that by fucking Googling us. We got stuff. We're Googleable. You know what I'm saying? This portion of the podcast is brought to you by SmokyBoysGrilling.com. Go to SmokyBoysGrilling.com to get all the rubs for all your meats, and also my boys over at CarveVodka.com. If you want to drink like the Cho used to drink like, do that and carve your own path, you motherfuckers. Anyways, what's happening, boys?
Well, I was thinking we could talk a little bit about a subject none of us are at all qualified to talk about, and that's
politics.
No,
Women?
True objective greatness. That's what I was thinking. Because
Is this because of our conversation about Tom Brady last night?
Tom Brady, and I know a lot of our fans aren't super into sports, but it's more of a general. I mean, it is sports, but I'm not just going to rant and rave about Tom Brady for a while. But it did get me thinking about this general subject, because we're talking about Tom Brady and how insane he is. And I don't care what you think about Tom Brady at this point. His resume and career is objectively fucking ridiculous. He has more championship game appearances than like Montana, Manning, and Drew Brees combined do, or something. Like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, we ain't going to just go on the whole thing on Tom Brady. But Corey said, when we were talking about Tom Brady on our group text yesterday, Corey said, it's pretty wild when you think about it that during our lifetimes, like from our childhoods up until now, the GOATs, the greatest of all time, and so many different huge sports have been, goating. Like when we were kids, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky. Now there's LeBron, there's Tom Brady. There's been, and I mentioned and all the other less popular in America sports. It's happened too. Messi, Ronaldo, Federer, Nadal, Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt. I guess the only one that hasn't really, and it's fitting too when you think about, Tiger Woods.
Dude.
It's fitting too when you think about what that sport is like. But the only major sport that hasn't happened in is baseball, right? Where the greatest of all time is still like Babe Ruth from the 20s or whatever. And baseball's so old fashioned. It's kind of funny that happened. But I think people that wouldn't, if steroids had never got found out in baseball, I don't think that would be the case. People would be like, no, there's been better people since. But because of steroids, it kind of put a huge asterisk on this entire era of baseball. But in every other sport, the greatest of all time have been active in the past few years. And I was saying that makes sense when you think about it, because like you watch old football clips and they're all like literal farm boys. You know what I mean? They're like 5'9", 180 pounds, just, wiry as hell, squirrely little bastards who baled hay all the time or whatever. And that's what hitting was in football back in the day. And then, but as they've gone on and sports science, exercise science, people understand so much more about building muscle and building speed and like nutrition and diet and all that stuff. You can make so much money in it. Kids start when they're fucking 9 years old and like are just treating it like a professional career. You know what I mean? Like, just everything is built up to this point of everybody being better at sports than they've ever been before at the highest levels. There's no reason to think that will stop, but I'm wondering if y'all think that we are in the peak of the bell curve when it comes to individual greatness in athletics, because everyone will continue to get, the bar itself will continue to get so much higher. That means the competition will get so much better across the board, which will make it harder for any one freak of nature athletically to stand out that much above the rest of the pack and be that much of an outlier. Or do you think that the numbers and everything will just continue to skyrocket for everybody. And, you know, there'll be people that eclipse all these GOATs in the next few generations.
I mean, I think that I'm definitely going to bat a couple different versions of this around while we talk, and I'm probably going to disagree with what I'm about to say maybe in 30 minutes. I'm sure I could be convinced. But I do think that for a lot of things, we have seen the peak for instance, in golf. I can talk about golf a little bit more than anything else simply because I play it. And so because of that, I understand. Like, I can't fathom Tom Brady. I can't get myself there. You know what I mean? But with Tiger Woods, I can kind of be like, I understand it. With Tiger Woods, he changed the game so much because before Tiger Woods, most people, it was more common to look like John Daly than it was to look like Tiger Woods.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we look back at John Daly now and we're like, man, look at this fat redneck. But like, dude, Colin Montgomery, they were all portly because, I mean, that was part of the appeal of golf is like Kevin James said, he's like, I love golf because it's the closest sport to just sitting down. And it's true. But then Tiger comes in and he made fitness a priority. But he was the first one to ever do it. So before it caught on for everybody, he was able to dominate. And when you talk about dominating a sport, there's two people that come to mind that it's like, it's not even close in their fields. And it's, to me, Tiger Woods and Wayne Gretzky. I can't speak on Wayne Gretzky a lot because I'm not the biggest hockey fan. But Tiger, when he was at his peak, he was literally, when he won the U.S. Open one year, he shot 12 under, and he was the only player in the field under par.
Yeah.
He won by like 15 fucking strokes, and he was the only one under par in the U.S. Open when the conditions are supposed to be the worst because, and a lot of the people still didn't wrap their mind around it, he put so much into his physical condition. He already had the natural talent, but he realized the stronger I am, the further I can hit the ball, the more torque I can have in my back, the more distance I can get out of the rough. Now everyone knows that and is doing that. And because of that, everybody's playing good, but it's so much harder for like one person to win 10 tournaments in a row because the competition has leveled itself out because of Tiger Woods. And with a guy like Brady, I don't know that you see a guy, I don't know if in the future you see people staying with teams as long.
There's a couple huge things about Brady that need to be mentioned.
Go ahead.
Just to contextualize Brady. Also, I think that Bill Belichick is arguably the greatest coach of all time. And the stars just so happen to align that the greatest quarterback of all time and the greatest coach of all time were on the same team at the same time, which resulted in the greatest dynasty of all time. So you're talking about like championships in football. I don't think you'll ever see that again. Also, it was helped by Tom Brady because his wife was fucking Giselle. Right. She was actually the primary bread maker in the family. Tom Brady famously took like team friendly contracts instead of taking like the back-breaking mega contracts, which allowed the Patriots to fill out their roster a little better, which is another thing that you just don't see often. In addition to everything you just said, which I agree with, that's what I was trying to get to earlier, like the bar across the board has risen so much. Like you think about when we were kids, Michael Vick came out, and for the record, a big part of this was just straight up racism. Black people didn't used to be allowed to play quarterback. Right. That's just how it was. But still, though, when we were kids and Michael Vick came out, he was like this game-breaking cheat code, right, of an athlete.
In Madden 05, I wouldn't let my friends play with him.
There was like a no Vic rule among buddies in Madden because of how much of a cheat code he was. And he was the only one that was like that. And now there's a lot of guys who, you know, have the sort of, who are better versions of Michael Vick across the league right now, you know? So like, that's the kind of thing I mean. Just the bar in general continues to rise, so it's harder to eclipse it at a high level. Like Patrick Mahomes is the one who eclipses it right now. He's head and shoulders above everybody else. But I still think that the rest of the competition, if you look at the young dudes that are around, and Mahomes signed like a fucking $500 million contract, which is what I'm saying. The Chiefs ain't going to be able to keep that whole team together. So I still don't think the Chiefs are going to do like what the Patriots did. And I don't know if you'll ever replicate some of the shit that we've seen, even if the athletes continue to become more and more freakish as we move into the future.
Well, but somebody has to be the best. And I think that, I mean, oftentimes that's objective. I would say almost all the time that's subjective. And I think I'm hearing what you're saying about, you're really talking about parity.
Yeah.
And then that argument,
Parity, Perry.
yes, and that argument goes against someone like Bill Russell, who, if we're looking at team championships, Michael Jordan and LeBron James couldn't see him in a dream.
Right.
That's true, but he played in a 10-team league.
He did play in a 10-team league. He also played in a league where the average height was much lower than his. Yeah. And being 7 foot, I think 1, as he is or was, people shrink as they get older, helped him dominate. But I also think that we've got a little bit – it's easier to see this happening in music than it is in sports, because sports is a much more somebody actually wins type thing.
Right.
But I think we have a little bit of generation or timeline bias, because I guess I hear what you're saying, that like someone may never win as many rings as Brady has. But by definition, aren't you also saying in the same breath that people will get better than Brady? Maybe not as compared to their competition, but like we're talking about it, the fact that athletes get better and better each generation, right?
Well, the things they get better at, like statistic wise, are subjective. Like there's people right now who can drive the ball further than Tiger, and maybe they have a technically better, putting statistic, but there's those things that you can't quantify, which is the mental fortitude. Like you can't, like you just can't write, you can't get on paper Brady's mental game and Tiger's mental game, like under pressure. And in some things like that, it's like, dude, yeah, there's like Aaron Rodgers has a better arm than Brady. You know what I'm saying? But like scoreboard. So yeah, in that way, it's not all objective. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But that's also comparing team sports to golf, which is a solo game.
True.
I mean, look, I know you guys know that I'm biased against Brady. I always have been, because I don't like him, and I openly admit that. I can't stand Tom Brady, but I also acknowledge greatness. But statistically, in the playoffs, he's been in the top 2 or 3 across all time. In the regular season, it's more like top 10. Now, does that mean that Dan Marino or Peyton Manning are better than him? It doesn't mean that. What I'm trying to get at, though, in terms of your question, Trae, is no, there's definitely going to be somebody better than Brady.
Yeah.
And I think you and I our generation won't admit it. But I think if we're talking about your sons, they won't give a single fuck how many rings Brady won, in my opinion.
Well,
they will say, they'll point to whatever it is they want to point to prove, because you see it happening with the LeBron James, Michael Jordan stuff. That's the closest thing I can think of to getting at what you're talking about. LeBron James in his prime was probably more valuable to a team than Michael Jordan. It's questionable, though. It's very questionable when you look at the advanced statistics. But Jordan in the playoffs crushed everyone around him. He crushed them. Because I have nephews and like my youngest one loves basketball, they care about Jordan. They love Jays. Right. But you try to have these conversations with them, they have their own generational bias.
Right.
So what I'm saying to you is, for us, this is the peak. The Bradys, the Usain Bolts, the LeBrons, the Jordans, the Tigers. But I don't think that for 30-year-olds in 30 years, they'll see it that way at all.
Right. My dad's still very much, he has made the argument forever. Like, he's a Dan Marino stan till he dies. And so because of that, my dad is a championship rings don't count. And I'm not saying that it's all that counts to me, but Tom Brady is going to his 11th Super Bowl right now. He's going to his 11th, I think. At a certain point,
10th or 11th. I know you're about to say it, so I'll let you say it. Go ahead.
What was I going to say?
Whether it's 10 or 11, he will, by the time the Super Bowl is over, he will have played in like 1/5 of all Super Bowls ever played in the history of the NFL.
That's fucking insane. So, but I understand that you right, but look at Elway. Like, Elway won a Super Bowl, and look at his arm and obviously, even as much as, like, to me, I want to go, look, objectively, if you've gone to fucking 10 or 11 Super Bowls, and especially if you've taken 2 teams, I mean, for the love of fucking Christ. And then also, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that would make the argument with Michael Jordan that Trae's made with Tom Brady of like, well, look at Phil Jackson. Like, Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan are like when Brady and Belichick met. Like, had that not happened, because then you look at Phil Jackson's success after. He goes and he makes another dynasty in the Lakers. Now, granted, he also just happened to run into the prodigal, or not the prodigal son, but the chosen one in Kobe Bryant, who was supposed to be and Shaq. But like you start putting those pieces together, and then you go, well, I mean, technically Scottie Pippen has just as many rings. So the baseball one's a lot. It's kind of crazier because like with Babe Ruth, like I think Daniel Tosh used to have that bit about Babe Ruth hitting all these home runs, and he's like, yeah, but like, dude, he didn't have CC Sabathia fucking firing down the middle.
That was before they let black guys play.
It was before they let black guys play.
Huge difference, maker.
Huge difference. Which also reminded me of that old Tim Wilson bit when they were talking about Steve Spurrier winning the Heisman, and he goes, yeah, when all the black guys were in Vietnam, which is hilarious. But like, there's so many of those subjective things. But like now, I think the reason for that is kind of what you just said. Like back in the day, baseball was this new thing, and nobody fucking worked out. You beat your wife. That's how you stretched. You know what I mean? You ate hot dogs, you drank beer, and then every now and then there'd be a freak of nature that was just natural talent was what did it back then. But now you got natural talent, and we're isolating these muscles. We're specializing this, and now everybody just kind of like, okay, Bryce Harper's probably good, but like they're all pretty fucking stellar.
See, and that's what I'm trying to say. Drew, I completely agree with you. I think Patrick Mahomes already is like better at the position. Maybe not mentally, but in every other way, better at the position than Brady has ever been. And I think like going forward, there will be other Patrick. I think in the future, there will be plenty of quarterbacks who are objectively better at the game than Brady ever was, but I think there will be a lot more of them. And that is the thing that will keep any one of them from like being as much above the rest of the pack as Brady has ended up being by the end of his career.
Well,
for a long part of his career, it was hugely debated between him and Peyton, and even like Rodgers is really the best, and Drew Brees and stuff. But like at this point, what Brady's done compared to the rest of them, he's way above the rest.
Well, that's what I was going to say though, is like there are other Bradys right now, and there were in the past. The argument that keeps me from standing on a soapbox and telling y'all he's overrated is the longevity and the fact that it's with two teams now. So if it doesn't happen, it's because he's an anomaly, or he is mentally the best, or he's just the luckiest motherfucker on top of also being the most talented motherfucker in the world. So like, I don't know if that'll happen again, but I want to go back to soccer because you raised the point of, or maybe Corey did, as we have people starting to do the same sport since they're 10 years old. And, we have specialized schools, and you can learn how to shoot from Steph Curry or the guy who taught Steph Curry, or what, Dirk Nowitzki has had the same shooting coach since he was like 8 or whatever. Like that's wild.
That's crazy.
Soccer's been like that for a while.
Right.
I was curious because I was like, well, I don't know if that's really accepted. And I just typed it in, and I just pulled up 4 different lists of the greatest soccer players of all time. The guys you mentioned are not or near the top, but the absolute top is always either Pele or more often Diego Maradona.
Right.
So my point with that is,
rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace, Diego. He was wild.
He was wild as hell. Loved cocaine and meat and whores.
And told everybody about it.
I don't know anything about him. Could y'all tell me a little bit about the cocaine and meat?
I pretty much told you most of what I know. He was like, he's considered maybe the greatest soccer player of all time. He then went into being a manager at the world level at soccer. Yeah, a good manager. He's maybe the GOAT in the soccer world, but also a party animal motherfucker who like just railed lines and whores and steaks and shit until he died.
He's Brady, Belichick, and Daly.
Country music and sports are like kind of related in that way, where like back in that era, the best also were maniac, coke snorting philanderers, and now you can't be none of that to be either of those. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
Like right now, like I don't give a fuck. I don't mean like because of the press. I mean, if you're a quarterback in the NFL and you don't take your job, because Peyton Manning set such a standard.
Johnny Manziel, man.
Right.
Like
Peyton
Johnny
Manning
Manziel was that. He had all the talent in the world, but he was trying to be that old school party boy type, and like you just can't do that anymore.
And I think that Baker Mayfield grew up in like a year and a half because he was about to do that same shit, I think. You know what I mean? And then he got his shit together.
when Sturgill produced Tyler Childers, he signed Tyler and a guy from the Midwest who I've heard since because he's kind of recovered, who I like, who was too much of a partier. You can't do it in that world either. And it's also not because of the media. It's because of the job. Because now
it's too demanding.
Those guys have to, yes, they have to tour. They have to be on. They've got social media. There's like things they got to do to keep up with the machine.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, you could go to rehab for a year and maybe it wouldn't get talked about. Get your shit together. Now put another great album out.
Absolutely.
Amy Winehouse and a few rappers, Pop Smoke comes to mind, are the only people now who I've seen get away with that in the music world.
Aren't both of them dead?
Yes. Now, to be fair about Pop Smoke, he did because he posted a picture of the shoes he bought and his address was on the receipt, and then someone came around and killed him, which is
ridiculous. But Drew, what were you gonna? Because you're right. I thought about that yesterday. I thought about Pele and Maradona yesterday too. You're right. What the GOATs have played during our lifetimes is not really true in soccer. None of us are huge soccer heads, but like, what were you going to say about that?
Well, I can't decide if that lends to, I think, what you're arguing or not, because in some ways it lends to what you're arguing because I get Ronaldo and Ronaldinho confused because both of them are very good. But Messi, because Messi existed in the world where you start playing when you're 3 and you become a professional by the time you're 14 and you've got all this money and, the national programs behind you if you're good. In some ways, that's an argument for what you're saying. He couldn't reach the level of Pele or Maradona because no matter how good he got, his competition was so fucking stiff, right? So in some ways, that proves what you're predicting coming true in other sports could, yes, absolutely come true. But in other ways, though, we are having this conversation. And what I mean by that is we still know who he is. There will be a 1 or 2. And I have to believe that soccer players who are 20 don't give a fuck about Diego Maradona. That every list I pulled up was written by a 50-year-old. Maybe I'm wrong, though. But do you know what I mean?
There's also the thought of, I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know what it's going to look like. But eventually we're going to have to evolve and change what being the GOAT means just because the game is going to change. And to go back to Trae's point of Brady was very lucky to be married to Giselle, which means that he could stay in New England and take those pay cuts and have the players or whatever. If that doesn't happen, there's a situation where Brady's not with New England the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Or their team's just not as good because in order to get Brady, you can't have signed Randy Moss that one time. You can't have gotten fucking, oh my God, I'm trying to think of 8 short white dudes' names and I can't think. Edelman,
Wes Welker,
all
Julian
these dudes,
Edelman,
and
Danny
then Brady,
Amendola.
and then Brady's got to kind of like fucking go here and there. The game's changing so much, like. It just feels like back in the day, like people stayed with their team. They were very loyal, but now with like, fucking different sponsorships and different this, that, and the other, like
free agency didn't used to be a thing in pretty much any sport. So they stay with their teams because like they had no choice, which that's how athletes got so fucked over by their teams is because they really had no recompense, which is where free agency came from. But yeah, because of it's a lot more mercenary now.
Right.
That
like,
move around a lot more.
Like LeBron's kind of wild in the GOAT category. He's one of the ones that's like he's been to some different places. You know what I'm saying? Like he's fucking moved around. Usually
he's been to the finals with 3 different teams.
Yeah.
3 different coaches. He's played under so many different coaches, which some people will say is a knock against him. Like, oh, he's impossible to coach.
I disagree.
I think he took a lot of heat, and I'll admit, early in his career, I was a LeBron hater mostly because I love Kobe so much, but also I didn't like it. I didn't like it when he left Cleveland for Miami. I didn't like the decision and all that. I was one of those people that was like, no, that's a bitch move. Jordan wouldn't have done that, yada yada, whatever. But I think that LeBron, it almost feels to me like LeBron took that criticism of like, oh, you can't do that. And then he made like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make that part of my legacy is that I go to a bunch of different places and hit at all of them. Like I go wherever I want to and I fucking win, which proves a whole other thing about me. And fuck you, Trae Crowder, and you other fat pieces of shit.
I said he's been to the finals with 3 different teams. He's won.
He won them.
3 different teams.
Yep.
3 different coaches. And that, could Jordan do that? We'll never know. But I think that I think this type of debate will rage on, and I think everyone's going to have a generational bias. Now, another factor, there's two other factors we haven't brought up, Trae, in terms of your question about the peak, or, are we really in a sweet spot? One is like the physical capabilities of the human body. Like,
there has to be a
scientists
limit.
have brought this up. Like, it's physically impossible, as we are currently made, for someone to run the 40-yard dash in 2 seconds.
Right.
Our muscles would explode trying to move fast enough to move a man who is 6 foot or whatever, or, so it's like, so what does that look like? Number one. And then number two, sport will live on. I don't deny that or doubt it. But having sports at the level we're talking about, national teams and the amount of money that goes into it, it's not a coincidence that the richer countries have the most success at that.
Right.
As the world changes, that stuff will constantly be influx long term. Like, I'm not saying America's going to fall apart tomorrow. That's not at all my point. But like, if America doesn't fall apart and continues to do well, we'll keep up with the world in soccer. That'll change the whole. Like, in 50 years, if we haven't fallen apart as a country, our soccer program will probably be on par with the world's. Yep. What does that look like? It's just hard to predict. I think every generation is going to think that their people are the best.
That's for damn sure. And again, I think that, like, Trae's kids' generation, they're just going to end up having to figure out a way to try to quantify it without championships, because I don't think that like dudes like Nick Saban, the Nick Saban, Bill Belichick type thing, those are so fucking crazy and insane. Like those dynasties and stuff like that. Like what we've seen with Tom Brady, I know it's like records are meant to be broken or whatever, but like, I just don't see that that's possible in like to
if he
go
plays like shit and gets the fuck beat out of him, will you feel differently? I'm genuinely curious.
Do what?
If he plays like shit in the Super Bowl and gets the fuck beat out of him, will you feel differently? Because I think he got lucky against the Packers. It takes some luck to go to the Super Bowl, but I do think he got lucky.
He could have quit this year, and I'd still say the same that I'm saying. I'm talking about everything he did with the Patriots. Like, what he did with the Patriots, that dynasty, and that's a team effort. I think that Tom Brady this year, again, just getting the Super Bowl, you're right. Like, there could be a lot of luck, but the guy's still in the fucking Super Bowl. Like, luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
So he's still in the Super Bowl. But, like, before that, like, that type – I think that he's dispelled the whole was I just a system quarterback bullshit, because he took Tampa Bay to the goddamn Super Bowl. But my point is, like, those two things meeting and going to fucking 10 Super Bowls, like, I don't see another person getting that opportunity, like, especially like just the way Patrick Mahomes plays the game. I think Patrick Mahomes is probably more apt to get injured. You know what I'm saying? Being a little bit more mobile. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like with Patrick Mahomes, I wanna see a guy who we all like seeing the next fucking dude. Like, and my thing with Brady is like, yes, I'm sort of tired of like the part of me that's tired of seeing Brady win. Somebody else needs to, but then there's also the huge sports fan in me who is like, dog, if this motherfucker wins with the Bucks. Yeah. It's going to be fucking insane.
I circled all the way back to that. I got to a point a few years ago where I was like, okay, look, I acknowledge you're the greatest, Brady, but please just fucking retire.
Right.
We're all then when he does it, we're all done with it. But I've fucking circled back on it now. And look, yes, admittedly part of it's because I don't like the Kansas City Chiefs. But I've fully circled back to like, shit, do your thing, old man. Fuck, goddamn. At this point, see how far you can take this shit, because this has just gotten ridiculous.
This feels a little racist. I'm pretty uncomfortable.
My point is that like Mahomes right now, I think, to me, it's barely a question that he's the best in the league
for sure.
I think that. Like,
Rodgers is close, man. I mean, he's like real close. Rodgers. They don't have a defense.
No, I know. Right. and also their coach is a fucking idiot. But like, I don't know. I look at Mahomes and I wonder, does this, because he's reinvented the game. He's like Steph Curry in that way. Like, he's doing shit that I'm having to pause my TV and go, now I know that was just a fucking pass.
Who's back, by the way?
For sure.
Steph's healthy.
For sure. But do you know what I'm saying in terms of like, he does it so different that I'm like, is there longevity in that? Or is there a time where the defense, because the thing about professional defenses is there's a lot of guys who can come out of college doing some fucking crazy different shit. They end up figuring that shit out.
See, okay, because I don't like the Chiefs, and that's before Mahomes. Because I don't like the Chiefs when Mahomes first popped, I was saying what you were saying, but Mahomes is just different. That's not going to happen to him because you know who that's happened to, and he still hits and he could still have a great career, and I still like him a lot. Lamar Jackson is the most recent example of what you just said in real time. He was MVP last year, burst on the scene. Nobody could do nothing with him but he kind of got figured out. And this year he was much more
and he still hits
pedestrian, and he does still hit. But like Mahomes, it's been 3 years now, and like they're just not. I don't think he's going to get figured out.
I hope not. By the way, as much as I don't like the Chiefs, I do like the guy. I like Patrick Mahomes, and I'm a Titans fan first. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm kind of almost just a sports fan first. And that's why like it's always been easy for me to put politics aside. Like, dude, fuck Brady and his politics and his Trump shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tiger Woods the same way. But like, I want to watch them play. And when they're doing it, I'm not sitting there going, you know, it's just so stupid to me when I'm like, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. And somebody's like, you know, he's a Trump supporter. And I'm like, do you know that has not one goddamn thing to do with what I just said? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I would like to fucking go on a date with him. I'm just saying that when I'm watching football and he's on the television, there's a really good chance that it's hitting harder than if he wasn't on the television.
Speaking of hitting harder than if it wasn't what it is, let's talk about honey.
I love honey, Trae.
Yeah. How's that for a segue? I know you love honey, Joe. We're not talking about the natural made Bumblebee confectionery, although hell, that hits too. Never expires, honey. Wild thing. No, we're talking about the service, honey. Listen, we all shop online.
Sure do.
Today's day and age, especially during the pandemic. Get to that promo code field there and you get taunted by it at checkout. Oh shit, I should have had a promo code, but I don't. What am I going to do? Well, thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 stores online, ranging from sites that have tech and gaming products to fashion to even food delivery.
Yep. Here's how it works, guys. Imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button drops down, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. Even my dumb ass can do that. Wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons it can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you're just going to watch the prices drop. It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store. I don't know about y'all, but like, you know, when you got your grocery store card and you can put it in and you get 50 cents off stuff. I'm a child and they're like, do you have your card? I'm like, can I give it to you at the end? Because I like to watch the prices go down. So you can, if you're like a child, you can watch that with Honey.
Yeah. I'm like a child, and Honey saved me on these glasses right here. I bought these glasses for a character I'm working on, Drew Dollars. There's a shameless plug. And I used the Honey situation, and it saved me $5 on these $20 glasses. That's good savings. And I got to tell you guys, personally, I like the name of this app because it's a coupon app. It's basically what it is. And, you know, it just reminds me of saying, honey, let me give you this coupon, honey.
I love that. Right. That does fit our brand.
So if you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out on free savings. It's literally free, and it installs in a few seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast, which, of course, we appreciate. You can get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/wellred. That's joinhoney.com/wellred. Do it for yourself. Do it for your wallet. We appreciate Honey supporting the podcast. Thank you very much. Honey, just do it.
Honey, just do
honey.
it.
Save you some money, honey.
Mm-hmm.
What about art? What about like music in terms of the generational conversation? I think
I was going to ask
most
about
of our listeners will probably be more into that anyway.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I was going to straight up bring up comedy first because that's the field we're in, and I always wonder, you know, getting too inside of comedy, but keeping it to art in general. I don't know, man. Look, it's going to be hard for me to not accidentally veer into the territory of the types of douchebags that piss me off, talking about like, you know, what you can't talk about anymore and shit like that. there's also the thing that I do think is true, and I think it's fine because you can find new ways to tell the same stories and still make it hit. So that's not that it's an excuse, but I just think it's a fact. Something that doesn't exist in sports is that, like, every time a thing is done and done well, it's kind of taken off the list a little bit. Do you know what I mean? At least for a long time, like, because you can't just rip some stuff off. Like in the world of art, you can't. A new guy can come in the NFL next year and do exactly model himself completely after Patrick Mahomes and do exactly what Patrick Mahomes does on purpose. And if he hits at it, he will also hit at an extremely high level.
He's not going to get called a hack.
Right, exactly. But you can't do that in art. It doesn't work that way. So you have to be like, I think it becomes harder and harder to be like innovative and new and fresh the further you go down the timeline in art, because more and more things are added to the pile of things that have already been done and done well.
So, yeah, that's why. Isn't it tough inside your own head, inside your own reality, to imagine a new thing, no matter what that reality is? I guess there's like upper limits to it, but I guess what I'm getting at is like, yeah, great films have already been made, but whoever makes the next great film, especially if it's new and has new techniques and it looks different and feels different and sounds different, is that any more impressive than the first person who showed me how great a film could look? Do you know what I mean? Because you seem to be saying it's getting harder, and I don't know if that's true.
Well, there's something to that, that kind of skews my views on it, where it's like, I don't think, like, to me, there's been better movies than Citizen Kane, even though Citizen Kane is the Citizen Kane. That's the measure. But when you look at it from an outside perspective and go, yeah, but the movies that you like, that you think are better than Citizen Kane, were good because Citizen Kane fucking bulldozed this huge hole for them to, make this railway out of. And the things that there's some things they were doing in Citizen Kane that the rest of the industry literally didn't catch up to. It took them 30 and 40 years to get there technologically wise, like some of the shots that he was able to pull off and the genius that he was able to use. So, I mean, obviously, as subjective as fucking sports are, I mean, it's exponentially different when it comes to art. And it's the same thing too with, like, okay, Roger Bannister runs the 4-minute mile. Never been done before. As soon as Roger Bannister does it, though, like 10 people do it within a year, because they find all people need to know is, can I do this thing? That happens in sports. Therefore, somebody's going to end up being. Therefore, Brady's better than Johnny Unitas because he saw Johnny Unitas do it, and he's like, I'm going to be better than Johnny Unitas. With films, they get, and with sports nowadays, they have the added benefit of way better health, way better lifting techniques, and fucking, training. And in film, they have way more technology to do these things. Whereas, like, back in the 40s, they would really want to get this shot, but it wasn't possible. Now, we got a fucking drone. Set it up. Make it happen. So, like, I don't know. I really, like, that's one of the things I really wish. It would be so awesome to take a guy like Quentin Tarantino and put him in the 20s and say, make a movie using everything you got here, and then take a guy.
He would love that shit.
Well, that actually, that's a bad example. That's a bad example. Christopher Nolan. Take Christopher Nolan and put Christopher Nolan in the 20s and say, you can only use the stuff you have here. Then take Orson Welles and put him in 2020 and go, you got fucking carte blanche, son. We're at Marvel Studios. Let it rip. Like, that would be really interesting. And I wish so much there was a way to quantify all that shit, but I don't know. To me, right now, I was talking to my mom the other day, and we were just like, we talk, once a day or once every 2 days, and we really enjoy this show called Midsummer Murders on BritBox. Little plug for them there. It's like the Netflix for British shit. And I told her, I said, she's on like season 13, and we just started this bitch like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, God damn, Mama. I was like, I got all this other stuff to watch. And Mom was just like, yeah, well, to me, there's nothing really good on TV right now. And I was just like,
sorry, Laura.
Yeah, no, I know
for scoffing.
Yeah, she's listening.
I know.
And
she's not.
And I was just, but I go, and she goes, what? And I go, well, I mean, we're in a literal fucking golden age, in my opinion, but you're right. And then I had to be like, we're in a golden age for me. I don't like, I don't know that there's stuff being made for my mom right now. Like I can't remember the last time I saw something that was like the Steel Magnolias, like that equivalent that would like catch my mom. But like, right, it's hard to beat right now. But I can't point my finger at like the one person that's responsible for that. Everyone has gotten good because of David Simon and because of dude that did The Sopranos.
In TV, yeah, 100%, you're correct. But I think in movies, a thing has happened, the same thing that's happened in music, except in movies, it hits for me because I enjoy the product on the movie side, meaning like I like superhero movies and I like blockbusters
Yeah.
as long as they're done well. So it hits for me. But it is a version of what's happened in music, I think, where it's like, it's gotten heavily commercialized.
Oh, yeah.
They find out, what makes money, and that's the thing that gets all the resources, meaning like the number one movies in the country used to be the best picture winners of that year, like Apocalypse Now and The Godfather 13, and shit like that. Yeah. And like, but I'm not, I don't know. I don't want to sound all Scorsese-y where he's like just talking shit about, the fucking popcorn movies or whatever. Cause I love popcorn movies. They hit for me, but I'm just saying like, it is, and I think all that's cyclical too. I think that will come and go. And also there's still indie movies getting made, still really good artistic endeavors in the world of film. They just aren't on the same, map as the way that they used to be in terms of popularity. And it's a lot harder to get them made, which I don't think is a good thing for film in general. But I also think that at a certain point, I think it will circle back around. At a certain point, there will be some kind of fatigue with all this high-flying caped hero stuff, and something else will, take its place. So I'm not saying that, it's on a death spiral, because it's not. But I think like it's just so objective and it changes so fucking much. It's almost literally impossible to compare the different eras and the outputs and whatnot.
I also think the MCU though is kind of a Brady Belichick situation, and I'm just going to I'll use one actor as an example just because it's easier. You've got Kevin Feige's vision, all right, and you've got Jon Favreau's direction, and this all meets Robert fucking Downey Jr., who is just absolutely such a colossal talent. And then because of the success of that, they were able to get all these, like, I don't know, man, like the Avengers, when the Avengers assembled, all the pieces just connected, and it was but now the end games happen. I don't think that they're going to be able to recreate in phase 4 or phase 5 that magic. And because of that, I'm not saying that they can't make good things, because, dude, have you watched WandaVision yet?
Yeah, I
love it. I love it. I think it's great. I think they're going to do a lot of cool things like that, but like they're definitely downward trending just because they don't have Robert Downey Jr. anymore. They don't have fucking Captain America anymore. And when that happens, they're obviously not going to stop trying to recreate that, because that would be stupid. They're going to fail, and then you're going to start seeing more like Shape of Water shit come out, which I'm excited for.
And I hope so. Yeah, that would be cool, man. I'll tell you another thing that the three of us should particularly lament, if we're being honest with ourselves, not that the three of us would be in that world anyway, but I think that them and their ilk, the big blockbusters of recent years, I do think have pretty much murdered the big time Hollywood comedy for the nonce. It will come back. Comedies still get made. Some of them are fucking hilarious. Book Smart is one that came out last year. It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, I still haven't seen that.
It's so good. Good comedies still come out, but they're one of two things. They're either indie darling comedies, and for me, those can go either way. Some of them I'm not that into at all. Some of them I think are fucking great, but you can either do that micro budget type stuff, passion project type stuff, or the only ones that ever have any kind of budget. And I think it's because of like the blockbuster nature of things. It seems to me like they have to also be somehow action.
Yeah. Tropic
like
Thunder.
Or like even things like Game Night, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
There's
a
like
heist
a heist and a caper and a criminal, mastermind and all this shit.
It's not just super bad.
It's not just a comedy. And dude, tell me the last time there was just a comedy that was like big time, like tentpole comedy type thing that came out that really hit. I feel like the Will Ferrell movies and Judd Apatow's shit a few years ago, Knocked Up and all that.
Yeah.
40-Year-Old Virgin. Those were kind of the end of that for now. I think they'll come back.
Yeah.
But I think the superhero movies, they're funny. Like they're also funny. And I think that's why it is. I think in studio execs' minds, it's like, if people can go to see a super badass and super rad Marvel movie and also laugh while they're there, why would they go to just laugh? Why would they go to just a thing to laugh at if there's no explosions?
Blockers was the last one I can think of.
But I don't think it was that big, was it?
Yeah, it was big. It was John Cena. It was big for a comedy nowadays.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that took the Porky's American Pie genre and flipped it to girls.
Yeah, it was the girl. Yeah, it was the girls. It was kind of like they're super bad, like they're going to prom and shit like that, and a girl's gonna lose her virginity, and one realizes she's a lesbian. I fucking loved it, but also I'm a fucking John Cena mark. I think he's tremendous. I think John Cena, he's like a Justin Timberlake, where I think that there's about 3 or 4 things that if he had tried as hard with them as he did at wrestling, he would have just done them too. And for what it's worth, he really genuinely seems like a great guy. He's one of those dudes like Jimmy Carter, where like John Cena has fulfilled more Make-A-Wishes than any other person, and it's by like thousands or something like that. And it was like with Jimmy Carter. I've told this story before, but like me and somebody were talking one time about Jimmy Carter. I'm like, I think he's like genuinely like the best president like of a person. And they were like, I don't know if Jimmy Carter's actually. Do you really think he's nice, or he's a good person, or he's just pretended all these years to be a good person? I was like, buddy, I gotta tell you, if you pretend for 96 years, you're a good like that is what being a good
probably
person
better.
Is. Like
you're probably better. Like you just sit around, I hate these motherfuckers, but I know I got to do this to be a good person. That's more impressive.
That is more impressive. Like when you're in a terrible mood, but you still go out of your way to put a smile on. That's the being a good person. Like someone's just naturally smiling all the time, they're just crazy. You know what I mean? Like, but if you faked it somebody said it about Tom Hanks too. They're like, I think he's just really, he's only a good person to get good press. Fucking whatever. Who gives a shit? But like, my point was literally my only point on that was I just really like John Cena. So maybe that's why the movie hit for me so much. The Jumanji movies, but you're right. Their action, they're huge,
and they were geared towards. They weren't kids movies, but they were geared towards kids.
Those movies rule.
Those
movies are fucking, but they're fucking action packed though.
Yeah.
So they are another example of what I was talking about.
I love Freaks and Geeks. Might be my favorite show.
I just started it today again.
The scene where Bill watches Larry Sanders do stand up comedy,
and he's so cute.
About twice a year I go watch that and cry. But it is so funny and Raven that Judd Apatow killed studio comedies. It's just, there's something so perfect about the idea that he was the last one for a while.
I don't think he killed them. I just think he was there when they got killed by everybody else. And that's what I think.
And the Apatow things too is like, even him, like his last one, The King of Staten Island, which is great, is a great movie, by the way. But like, it's not. Well, there is some action elements to it. I mean, there's a robbery, but like it's this depression and mental illness are at the forefront of that. It's not just a comedy. This is something with a message. Like Superbad.
To be Judd Apatow's always been pretty good for that. Like he was the one that made it a big thing to like have heart moments in big time comedies and stuff. That was always part of his calling card.
No, I know that.
Which is for me, by the way.
There's a huge difference between Superbad, 2 high school friends, one's going to a different college, and they're both trying to figure out how they feel about that, and My Dad Died During 9/11. You know what I'm saying? Those are 2 different movies. Like that's leaning way more into dramedy because, bro, in King of Staten Island, there are some heavy moments. Right. There's not really any in Superbad, and that's great. I'm fucking glad. Like the heaviest moment in that is like the girl gets her period, and it's like, oh no. But like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like obviously I hope for us, for our sake, it's just like we're due. You know what I mean? That's coming back around.
Or also, I mean, hell, it would just hit for if we just had a TV show, that would hit real hard.
Would hit.
Well,
I mean, I shifted to wanting. my dream, this shit is all I've ever wanted to do. And when I was younger, I wanted to make movies because my dad owned a video store, but I already had shifted in my head from, yeah, of course I'd fucking love to make movies, but I shifted in my head before I ever hit, I shifted in my head to like my ultimate dream would be to make a TV show just because of what we're talking. I think TV is better right now. And I think there's better comedy and stuff on TV. And so, and people may not know, the writer runs the show literally in TV, and the writer is just way down the totem pole in film.
Right.
So,
like,
yeah.
did you know Justin Theroux wrote Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, that's so fucking crazy, isn't it?
It's insane.
That's insane. I know, it's so wild.
I want to circle back kind of, you were talking about the second Patrick Mahomes won't get any flack for copying Patrick Mahomes. There is a way you can copy that in the entertainment world if you eclipse whoever you copied, and that's what's going to happen to us, cuz.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. And
right.
hey, if you're I'm sure you're out there listening, guys, the next WellRED group that's actually going to make the millions of dollars and be able to make the movies, we do wish you all the best. My only thing is, like, don't forget us. Like, give us, like,
on that note, not to make it awkward here, Cho, I've been thinking to myself lately, what if that person was Cho all along? Like,
I was hoping you'd bring this up.
We never considered that.
What do you mean?
That would we've always had this running joke. Drew just said on the podcast about how, like, yeah, because, like, look, I'm not to just, I love to jerk myself and us off, but, like, objectively speaking, we were a new kind of thing. We broke, I don't say broke barriers, but we broke some new ground in the comedy world. Not that it shattered any earths, and a lot of people don't like it at all, but still, it was a new thing. I don't care how you want to put it. And we used to always joke, like, yeah, we might've been the first ones, but, like, we won't be the big ones. There will be some other motherfucker who comes up behind us who will just, build on what we started and just shoot to the stratosphere or whatnot. We've always laughed about that. Like, that's going to happen or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, what if that person, what if the real usurper was Cho all along? Like,
the calls have been coming from inside the house. I've been waiting on you to bring this up, because I knew if I brought it up, I would be
clear, Cho, if you're not understand what I'm saying, I'm saying, like, that is hugely great news, like, as opposed to some, like, that's a very positive twist of circumstance. Right. If that's what happens, like, I've been dreading this unseen, unknown, hypothetical usurper the whole time, but if it ends up being the Cho, then it's like, well, hell,
if the prince becomes the king,
we're still in the game.
Happen.
Well, you know what? If we're going to talk about that, and that's totally fine, I will say this, something that I don't know that I've shared with you guys, but has meant a great deal to me over the past couple, especially weeks, but, like, months. I'll make no bones about it. I had a really good pandemic. I don't mean that the way it's saying. I'm just, that's just the time frame is all I'm saying. Since the pandemic started and we had to be at home, and I took the first 2 weeks off and watched The Wire, and I just thought this thing will be over and we're going to go back on the road. And then when it, like, became apparent to me that, oh my God, I don't know when we're going to go back on the road, I guess my fight or flight kicked in, and I was like, you can't do stand-up. You've got to reinvent yourself. And so I came up with this feller called the Buttercream Dream. Did that, yada, yada, yada. It's been successful. I've come up with some other characters. And then I had, as you know, a couple weeks ago, pretty huge pop. The one thing that's been very cool to me is I've had people tag me and you together, and us together, that didn't know that me and you knew each other. And, like, you should tour with the Trae Crowder or whatever. But and I'm sure there's been a couple people, though, I haven't seen anyone being like, oh, this dude's like a Trae Crowder ripoff. You know what I'm saying? And that really means a lot to me, because, like, obviously I try not to do that. Like, it's just hard because, and I've some people have asked me before, and I was like, here's the deal. He's the liberal redneck, yes, but that's still who the fuck I am.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know any other way to be. Like, and that, like, to me, that's why, like, I mean, if you'll remember, when I started doing the Buttercream Dream, I came to you and I was like, is this too much like Porch Rants? Because, like, at the end of the day, we're going to have the same motherfucking ideas on shit, a lot of the time. But, like, I'm trying to do it like this. And obviously you were like, no, that's cool. So I don't know any other way around it. But my point is, like, yeah, if I if I ended up being the usurper, that'd be awesome because we need some new life in this fucking outfit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the prince is supposed to become king. It's just that usually he has to kill him.
Right. Right. That's true. Yeah, and that ain't gonna happen.
Now I'll just become the king father. You know, like the Queen Mother and all them shows. Just like
hell yeah,
gets drunk and hits all the time. Just
you're the queer regent.
Yeah, man. Which one of us?
Trae, you're the hand.
Yeah. I'm gonna get murdered on the boat. But the thing is, if you're the usurper, I get to be on the boat.
For sure.
That's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like that's my only fear. My only fear is like I will see the boat of the person or persons who did what we do but made it hit on a global level.
Yeah.
And if it's Cho, it'll be like, well, I'm on the boat. Like I didn't say I needed to own it. I just want to be on it.
And if it's me, it's a pontoon. So
well, yeah,
that's
what I'm talking about. That wasn't a metaphor. I literally meant a boat.
Just so we're all clear here, just so the Ravens are in case the Ravens are listening, it could still be some other motherfucker.
Of course, it probably will be.
We could still end up getting very much left behind. We're not counting our chickens. I mean, look,
my thing is, I think there'll still be room for us because we're talented. But man, you know, this is so fucking Raven. I don't know if I've told you, but like this whole time, the pandemic. We've talked. I was like, man, I want the world to open back up. I hate this, especially because of the actual tragic implications of a pandemic. However, I'd be lying if I didn't say because of how hard we toured for the 4 years before that I have enjoyed being at home. Like it's been neat, and especially because like. At the beginning, when you're like, well, I'm sure this will just be for a couple months, I was like, I got to savor all this because once we go back on the road, that's my life forever. That's just what I do. So I'm going to enjoy this. And so because of that, and because I was doing all these videos on the internet, that was getting my creativity out there. And like every time somebody shared it or liked it, I was like, that's a laugh. You know what I mean? And I got that response back. But like, the other day when I got an additional it's getting close to, I've gotten like 100,000 new followers in the past 2 weeks. Only then did I go, you know, I'd really like to get back out there. Yeah. Like, I know I can sell some fucking tickets right now. So
it's been killing me. I mean, I told you that. I was
so I missed the shit out the road.
One of the first things I said was like, God damn, I wish we had fucking shows to push right now and fucking tickets to sell, but whatever. It'll, you know, they'll be here.
Yeah, and guys, when you want to see us on the road, like I said, go to WellREDcomedy.com, WellRED comedy.com. You can sign up for the newsletter, and that's where we'll tell you where we're going to be. Keep your eyes posted for those live streams. We've been having a lot of fun with those. I told y'all I just wrote a new fucking bit about the Unabomber. Very timely stuff. And I do this once in a while. Like I'll just write a joke that's like a reference from 30 years ago and try to make it work, and it doesn't.
Once in a while.
Yeah.
8 minutes out of the 30 every single time you go up.
Sort of sounds like you're starting to wrap up there, and I know we've been here for almost an hour. There was one more very silly and frivolous, but
it just seemed like a good segue. Go ahead.
Right, before you move on, let me say this real quick. Let me plug our TikToks. Cho, I see you're on the come up, baby. You're gonna surpass me soon.
I haven't posted one in a while. People are literally following me because someone this guy took my sound from Twitter, like my rant. And put it on there. If I'd actually put that on there, I would have 1 million TikTok followers right now.
I think that's probably true. So the reason I brought it up, let me tell you one thing I like about it, and it is going to be somebody else's boat, but it's still kind of cool. One of my nephews, one of Andy's nephews, but by marriage. Anyway, he sent me this video this guy did. It was liberal redneck at a job interview.
Oh no!
And it was great. It was really funny, and
that's what I was worried about.
And it was very funny. And I followed the guy, and he had a few more funny videos. And then he made a video about Kentucky, like about how he lives there and it don't hit for him. And I just made a response like, hey man, let me tell you what I like about Kentucky. Fucking you, dude. Like you're what I like about Kentucky. Because people like you, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, holy shit, dude. I can't believe you're on TikTok. I can't believe you follow me. I'm a big fan. I've been following you guys. I've been to 2 shows.
Oh, did he think you were me?
No. And we were making videos. We've been making videos together. But what I'm getting at is I was like, oh man, I guess there's an outside chance that whichever one of these motherfuckers does this, I'll get to like hang out on set.
See,
Yeah.
Corey, you see this? No, look, now I'll tell you what's happened here. This guy, he sounds sweet. Okay. I'm glad he found inspiration in my work. That's awesome. But you see what's happened here, Corey. You said earlier, you said, Drew, no, you're the hand. No, he's fucking Littlefinger, because you see what he's doing. He's out here courting the usurpers.
Absolutely.
He's finding the usurpers and he's slithering his way in with them, is what he's doing, trying to hedge all his bets.
You don't want your hand doing that. You want your hand just ignorant of the usurpers. You don't
No,
want
I
him in
mean,
their
so
camps.
you can push
You don't
me
want
and
him in their
Cho out the
camps.
moon door whenever you and the usurper go up to the
Me and you will not fit
throne.
both at the same time through the moon door.
I'll push y'all into a pile of moon pies. Y'all be stuck in a moon pie.
No, I'm just fucking around. That's
if you don't want your hand
it was
out there fucking with the usurpers, then you have a fundamental misunderstanding of what it is that hands do.
By the way, I did immediately regret calling you the hand as soon as I said it, but I wasn't gonna. It didn't mean anything to the bit. But Trae's right. I see what you're doing.
Well,
all right, listen.
I'm the hand.
That okay. The silly and frivolous subject I wanted us to cover is food related, Joe, so it'll be fun.
Yes.
There's two things I'll say. First things first. I found this on the internet over the weekend. It's from over 10 years ago. It's from like 2007. And this is real. Okay. If you somehow know that it isn't, I don't think you can know, because I tried to Google it. It's like a piece of internet lore, but to me, this is real. And I just really like this. Yeah, I will. And yes, and whenever, let me set it up first. So if y'all are listening, probably know you're, probably up on your politics. I don't know if you remember politics for 2007, back in the George Bush era. It was a simpler time. Republicans were, fighting unjust wars, and
John Edwards was cheating on his cancer wife.
Absolutely, trading blood for oil and all that. And also, lest we forget, Republicans were hating gays and sucking dicks in airport bathrooms. That's right. If you remember. They had a big thing. It was real hot in the Republican world at the time to outwardly hate gays and then get caught sucking dick in a bathroom.
Favorite thing.
One of the ones who was real trailblazer on that front, first guy to get caught doing it, I believe the airport bathroom guy, if y'all remember, was Idaho Senator Larry Craig. Okay. GOP, very homophobic, got caught in an airport bathroom with a dude. Y'all remember all that. Well, what I just found out was apparently, and this is like a relic from an older internet, there used to be a thing called Congress Cooks, right? It's like a congressional cookbook. It's like your U.S. Congress people share their favorite family recipes. All right. And this, let me see if I can get my screen ready to share here. This is infamous Idaho Senator Larry Craig's contribution to the 2007 edition of Congress Cooks. Can y'all see it?
It's a dictator
right there on the left. Yeah. Okay. So for those of y'all who,
I didn't even consider that.
Yeah. For those of y'all who are audio only, let me read this to you. The recipe is entitled Super Tuber. He's got a little intro up top, says Super Tuber is a great snack that uses one of my favorite vegetables, the Idaho potato. Of course, I suppose any type of potato could be used, but I cannot guarantee that a super tuber made with anything but a true Idaho potato would taste as good. Sincerely, Larry E. Craig, United States Senator. Here are the ingredients, everybody. 1 hot dog, cook's choice. So, you can use your Wiener connoisseurism to its full effect there. 1 Idaho baking potato, 7 to 10 ounces, good size Idaho potato. Mustard for dipping, any style. Other condiments as desired. Here are the instructions. Wash and dry potato, rub with shortening or butter.
Oh, God.
With an apple corer or small knife, core out the center of the potato end to end. I like how you rub it with grease before you do surgery on it.
Right.
Sharp thing. Anyway, core out the center of the potato end to end. Push hot dog through center. Bake until potato is cooked through. And then they give you some options. You can microwave it. You can bake it in a conventional oven. You can barbecue it wrapped in aluminum foil. And at the bottom, serving suggestion, allow potato to cool slightly. Eat as a finger food.
That's the best part.
Yeah. Dipping in your favorite hot dog condiments, (mustard) is my favorite. And if y'all aren't watching, there's a picture of the Super Tuber at the bottom, and it is hilarious. Depression on a plate. It's just Idaho depression on a plate. It's a potato with a hot dog through the middle of it, sitting in the center of a plate.
Look weird.
Also, not for nothing, looks like a dick in a butt.
It looks like a dog's wiener. You grease it up and shove a wiener into a hole.
Now,
yes. So
to defend this man a little bit, I absolutely would go to town on that bad boy.
I would need cheese and chili or something like this. I would need some real shit to dip it in. But if I had that, I could. Yeah.
Well, you know what that is, though? He didn't do that. Like, he's, unless he had a grandma's thing, which he clearly don't, I fucking hope. Some aide or whatever was like, hey, you got to do this cookbook. And he's like, just do something Idaho-based. And that aide did that on purpose. That is my belief. They knew that he was a closeted gay man who also hated gay people, and they found it funny to do that.
Well, I was about to say, like, he definitely didn't take the picture because I've never seen a gay person take that shitty of a picture. You know what I mean? Like, there's no lighting. There was no plating. It looked very bland.
Mm-hmm. The wiener looked wrinkly. They never do that.
Drew is almost certainly correct, but I choose to believe he did do this just because of how perfect it is in so many ways. It's also perfect. It's like, of course, the fact that he's the Idaho senator, do you know what I mean? It's such a like old white milk toast, boring fucking like pandering while sucking type of move. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, any of my favorite food items always include an Idaho potato right here in the great state of Idaho. And then it's just so like
dumb. Like, why not just do a twice baked potato? Like, make it regular. Like,
well, I like the aid theory because to me that's funnier only because that would mean there was a time period, and that time period maybe right now, that he didn't know that his dumb fucking face is beside that dumb fucking picture. Yeah. And I like to think about him looking at it and being like, either
one is funny, but I think, and I will use this to segue in the other thing. In this case, I think it's funnier if it's coming from a place of sincerity, right?
I do too.
Because it's just so fucking perfect. That's why I said up top, if you somehow know that this is actually it's not true, just don't tell me. I don't want to know. Because believing this and believing it was a sincere attempt is what makes this really land for me. No, that was Evening Skews. Me and Mark were talking recently on Evening Skews, and I think it was when Cho was on there talking about Georgia, about like intentionally bad movies and how a lot of people seem to not understand that like the sincerity is what makes an unintentionally bad movie good. Like the famous example, The Room, Tommy Wiseau or whatever, he was doing his absolute best.
Yes.
And that's what came out of it. And that's why it hits. That's exactly why it hits. When you try to make one that's bad on purpose to make it funny, that shit don't work. It's got to be a sincere attempt.
Right. But I'm laughing at the aide doing this to him on purpose, which I would argue is a good comedy movie.
Right. Yeah. It's a joke. It's a joke which takes the piss out of that guy, which is funny. But I'm just so on the subject of sincerity, and we could show this too, but y'all tell me I feel like we don't need to, because I know it's been all over the place. I feel like almost everybody's seen it at this point. If you haven't, you can look it up. The Spaghetti-O Pie video.
Yes. Please.
Okay.
Are you going to show that? Please do.
You want me to show it? Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't decide if I should show it or not.
You should, because if people haven't, like, we'll describe it, but like people on YouTube, and by the way, thank you everybody. And if you're out there and you just listen to this podcast audio wise, it's so fucking we're so dumb that we just don't tell people this. The full podcast every week is available on video form on YouTube, on Trae's YouTube page.
That is hilarious. We just have never mentioned
it. Really haven't. Like I upload it to there, and obviously your subscribers see it, and then I maybe sometimes tweet a link. But like, if you don't know that, you can watch the entire show and see what we're talking about on the screen. And much like we prefer you to listen to our book instead of read it, I think it's funnier to see our trashy dumbasses. I will warn you, Drew is never wearing a shirt.
All right. Okay. So yeah, I'll pull this up again. If y'all didn't see it, I'll just show it to you. This is where I saw it. I was just dicking around on Reddit, but it's been all over the place. And on Twitter, it has to be split into 2 parts because of the time limit. So I went to Reddit, 'cause here's the full video, which is 3 minutes, but fuck it. I'm going to
let it rip.
I'm going to show it. So make sure I share the sound here. Click this. Y'all can see it, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
God.
I haven't seen the whole video.
Sorry.
Till right now. It's she's pouring SpaghettiOs into a pie crust.
Hold on. Yeah.
Spread it around. Make sure the chunks are all spread equally.
Yeah, spread it around. Get them chunks equal, baby. I like SpaghettiOs for the record.
I like SpaghettiOs.
Fastest family recipe.
Please pay attention to this part right here, everybody. She's spreading butter on some plain pieces of bread.
Who doesn't like spaghetti in Italian?
Spreading it like a 4-year-old. Get the garlic powder.
Yeah, my mom did that.
Dump it.
That's a lot.
Also, that butter should be.
Look. Now see, she's gently massaging the freshly garlic buttered bread with her bare forearms. She's wearing a sweater, by the way. She pulled her sleeves up, and now she's tenderizing the butter.
She said she called it real Italian food. This is clearly self-aware.
Okay. Well, that's the thing I want to talk about, but let's watch the rest of it first, I guess.
Who you are, but no kid wants that.
No kid wants that. She says as she cuts the crust off of it.
Did crust hit for y'all as a kid?
I never minded crust because I was a fat kid.
I didn't give a shit.
I wouldn't say I loved the crust, but I mean, again, as a fat kid, it certainly never bothered me.
If it was toasted, it hit. Like a grilled cheese, like.
I think my dad
Tillamook cheese, which is actually solid cheese, by the way. She's
surprised
she's
me.
Bastardizing this with some Tillamook cheese. Tillamook cheese deserves better in this application. And then look, more garlic powder, fuck ton of it.
I haven't done anything but freshly grated in about a year now.
What the fuck?
Skim milk.
What?
Okay, right, exactly. She pours skim milk in the pie with the SpaghettiOs and cheese. Now she stirs it up.
It's all gonna cook right in here. We're almost there.
And by the way, her sleeves are now back down to normal length, which means they're wrist length, which means her sleeves are just touching her freshly garlic buttered forearms. And it's like a Colesy type sweater, like a white girl sweater.
This is an OnlyFans thing, isn't it? That's what this is. We're misinterpreting.
Amazing.
She put another layer of SpaghettiOs on top. This is all in a pre-made pie crust, by the way.
I'm a big cheese
Also, by the way, I made a from-scratch chicken pot pie the other day that was flames, just so everybody knows. No,
I would like you to
milk in it.
Hey Trey, I would like you to send me that recipe, please.
I will.
Almost there.
I want the pot pie recipe. I like pot pie. Oh my god!
Yeah, I know.
Putting the bread on top now, as though it's like the top layer,
like a crust
of the pie, as though it's like the pie crust. She's putting that bread up there.
Now you're gonna come. Put it in
Sorry,
the oven.
I think someone's in my back.
Nice kitchen setup.
It is a nice kitchen.
Backyard.
I think. I mean, I'm sure Katie.
This is my best one yet.
I'm sure Katie knows.
Oh my god.
That bitch just said this is my best one yet. This is the third time she done this.
For the record, I'd eat it.
Yeah, I'd eat the shit out of that.
So okay,
it's just tomato slop with bread.
Yeah.
Here's the question, right? And actually, I'm gonna.
Trae's about to get murdered by a white trash Italian.
Yeah, I have no fucking clue what's going on out there. But
like,
whatever.
He's on to me in my
Just
pies.
gonna try not to worry about it. Katie,
that's my wife, you motherfucker.
Shit. So anyway, yeah, Drew said no one. I feel like there's a huge debate online about like what is this? Because a whole lot of people are just infuriated because they're like taking it completely at face value as a completely sincere attempt, and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this person?" And I see people saying things like, "Yeah, this is the official." It's like, no, this is definitely real. You never been to Utah? This is like how people do in Utah, and like shit like that. But I think that it's self-aware. I think it's some kind of either satire or trolling or something. I don't know exactly what she's going for with it because Katie actually recognized this girl, and Katie can't stand her. Katie's like, hate watches this girl. Apparently, her
wait.
Stuff.
So she does more?
Yes, a lot more.
Are they all like this?
This is definitely her masterpiece, I think.
But I'm saying like they all in the same vein. Because
it's hard. That's the thing with the internet. Right? It's so hard to tell sometimes. But like here are the tails. I want to show another.
The arms are the tail.
Yes, that's the
and
one.
The sweater.
Yes, the arm. Her wearing that sweater. Because, smart Mark, we normally call him, might be dumbass Mark in this scenario. When we were group texting about this, Mark said, yeah, I've seen that. I think it's self-aware or whatever. And Mark said, okay, see, this is because you never went to church, Trae. Here's the deal. I know this girl. I've known a bunch of girls like this, and they don't know what a joke is. She ain't making a joke. This is sincere. This is real. And I told him, I was like, well, dude, I knew girls like this too. Not just because I didn't go to church. My college girlfriend was this archetype of woman. And to me, the tell is the sleeves on the sweater. When she mushes that buttery bread up with her bare forearms and bare hands, and then just lets the sweater drape back over it. Like, I could see somebody making something like this for
it's
their
also
white trash
how nice that sweater is, how nice that kitchen is.
The house is, yes.
Yeah, like there are church ladies who make trash, and then there are church ladies who take themselves very seriously and wear sweaters like that, and they would never get their elbows literally greasy doing that. And him saying that to you would be like somebody watching your original liberal redneck video and going, "Nah, I know rednecks. They don't talk like, like having that argument about that. Like, this ain't self-aware or whatever,
Mark, I hope you're listening right now. Smart Mark deserves the nickname Smart Mark. He's a very intelligent person. Motherfucker is, whenever I have a question politically, I just ask Mark because I know he's read the shit and I know he can explain it in terms that I understand. But Mark is Gen X, which is boomer light. That motherfucker believes goddamn everything on the internet. He shares something every fucking day where he's like, can you believe this? I'm like, Mark, come on, bruh. Yeah. That's parody, dog. And he's like, I don't care. I want it to be true. But like, dude, I just can't. Again, you'd have to show me her other videos. But like, if her other videos aren't that bad, but
they are, but they're less like, I hate to use the word, but nuanced. Her other videos are more like, they're more on the nose with their like.
Does she have a lot of followers?
I get a shit.
Okay, well then it's a bit.
Katie, her thing is like no. She's one of these like influencer types that just lives in a big McMansion with a bunch of other influencers, and they just think up the dumbest or craziest videos they can make just to get views. She's like,
because people hate click more than they love click.
And that's what Katie is saying she's doing. Whereas at first I thought it might be self-aware in a like kind of purposely satirical way. Like she was making fun of something. And Katie's like, no. She just does wild ass random shit just to try to get
hate it even more. With it. I do too. I hate that more than any of those genres. Self-aware satire that was a little off, or she really thinks this is a good dish over whatever the fuck you just described.
Well, because the difference is like, I know some people who like, and I've seen them in the world, like they've messaged me on Twitter trying to like, hey, will you follow me back? We'll share each other's videos. And like, I'll try to figure them out. They're not comedians. They don't want to be actors. They don't want to be. They don't even, some of them don't even think they're comedians. They literally, they want followers no matter what. Like to them, that's the end game is just followers. And like, that's a type of crazy. Like if this person's like, if my point is, if that girl was a comedian, if she wanted to be a comedian, she was like, I'm going to do these videos that who knows if it's real, who knows if it's fake. And it's going to get me a bunch of clicks and I can get some ads and I'll make some money and then that'll further my comedy. I'm like, I get that shit. Like, do your thing. But if like, you're literally just a person that's like, I bet if I do this, people will click on it, but it brings no value to the world, you're insane.
So I wanted to show another one real quick. This one's a minute long. And to all the people, because a whole lot of people out there, Mark is not alone. A whole lot of people out there like,
I know there's a bunch of dipshits.
Yeah, they're like, no. This is real. This is sincere. It's insane, but she means it sincerely. And I'll show you an example I saw on the same subreddit, just a few posts underneath that one, this one is what y'all think the SpaghettiO pie is, in my opinion. Like, this is completely sincere. I know plenty of people who, to them, this is what cooking is. This person thinks this hits. Like, there's no ounce of satire or any kind of shit.
I see some bouillon.
Okay, just so anyway, this one is
easy dinner recipe that's better than Olive Garden. Heat up some water for angel hair pasta. Add some chicken bouillon because we like spicy food. Take a pound and a half of shrimp. Add a teaspoon of garlic and a half stick of butter. Let that cook. Add some baby red tomatoes, however many you like. More chicken bouillon because we hate bland food. Then add salt and pepper to taste. Add about a teaspoon and a half of basil and parsley. Like I said, we don't measure. Add 1 to 2 blocks of cream cheese. We like cream cheese,
2 blocks
so I
of cream
use 2.
cheese.
Make a hit.
Let that melt together.
Here comes the half and half.
No,
that's heavy cream. Whole bottle.
Make a hit.
Then throw about a full 8-ounce bag of
2
Parmesan
bags
cheese. Let
of
that melt.
pre-shredded Parmesan.
Add about a half tub
It's
of
healthy
spinach.
though. Got the spinach in it.
Then let that cook
Gotta
down.
get your vitamins.
After that's cooked down, add your spaghetti mixture. Then it's ready to serve. I promise your family will love it. It's better than Olive Garden.
Okay.
Where was the noodles?
They're in there at the end.
Other pot.
She at the first she put chicken bouillon into a pot of water to cook the noodles in, but you never saw them again. But then later she mixed them in with the sauce and the shrimp. Those shrimp looked cooked at the beginning of the video, and if you notice the time on the stove, those shrimp were just boiled for like 40 fucking minutes.
They just don't hit.
Cheese and crimp and shit and cream and shit. They're gonna be straight up rubber. But like, okay, like that, I don't doubt that a bit. Like, dude, mom, sorry, nobody's going, this ain't gonna get back to her. Whatever, hell, she'd laugh about it probably. My mother-in-law pretty much be cooking like that. Like, Katie, like in Wayne County, that's pretty standard fare right there. That's some chick in the Midwest.
And I bet it tastes decent.
I bet it tastes. If you're a fat kid at heart, like me and you are, I'm sure it does taste fine. But it's like putting that on the internet as a culinary offering is of course absurd, and she does not realize that. Like in her head she's like, I'm hitting. That is what that video is, and that is not the same thing as the spaghetti-o pie in my
Absolutely
a lot of people
not.
think it is, but it ain't.
Well, that at least looks like a meal
thing. Right.
So go ahead.
It also no grown normal person thinks white bread is what you put on a pie, or that you would make quote unquote Italian pie with SpaghettiOs. Whereas I can see someone being like, that's all it is. That's all Alfredo is cream cheese. You didn't know that? It's like one's a little dumb and the other one's insane.
Like, that's the thing to me. Like, whenever, I love what we do, we being rednecks sometimes, because sometimes we literally just, make it hit. But if somebody that I know, like my wife will make like that, it's called $1 million spaghetti or whatever. And it's like, me and Trae, you've talked about it before. Like, it's fucking cream cheese and it's the spaghetti, and then you got a block of cream cheese in there, and then they like bake cheese over it, and then there's like a cream of chicken soup can or something. It's just a mess. I mean, dude, of course, if it's around, I'm going to town on it. But like, I see our redneck brothers and sisters, like, they treat pasta in this complicated ass way. And it's like, dude, why are you doing all this extra shit when it hits all? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Well,
like, you don't need to put a block of fucking cream cheese in there. Just put a little Parmesan and shred that bitch up and put some butter in it.
There's this white trash Midwestern and Southern like food culture. But the thing is, in the South, we also have like the hittingest food in the whole world, like actual
because of black
food.
People. We're talking about white.
Yes, because of black people. But
this
white people in the South can do it. It's black people stuff that but like, again, Mama Cat, who I talked about a couple episodes ago, that's all she did was make legit soul food. You know what I mean? And she actually hit at it.
Yeah.
But the other side of the food going in the white trash world in the South, and then also in the white trash Midwest, is this whole it's just cream cheese, cream of chicken soups, like canned soups, you know what I mean? And just
casseroles.
Casseroles that we just dump it. And hell, I made a casserole the other day. I made a tater tot casserole the other day just because I wanted one, and it slapped.
Listen, it's good. No. Listen,
I love casseroles.
Amber made me a chicken casserole, my mama's recipe, when I was sick. It's my favorite thing. It's, shredded chicken and cream of chicken soup mixed together, and then a little bit of sour cream, and then crackers on top. I get that that's trash. All I'm saying is that when it comes to pasta, the just normal way to do it hits harder.
Right.
So
and
why
it's
are you,
easier if you know what you're doing.
Right. So why are you doing that shit? Like, casserole's its own thing, but like this better than Olive Garden. First off, my God, the bar you've set.
Right.
But secondly,
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's another that's what I mean. Like in this part of the world and in this part of the culture, Olive Garden hits real hard.
Yeah.
This hits harder. What hits harder? This cream cheese, heavy cream, chicken bouillon, shrimp abomination or whatever, which again, I would eat and I'm sure it tastes fine, but it's just, it is what you got to recognize what it is.
For sure. And I'm an elitist, and I know that because like when I watch somebody open a bag of Parmesan cheese, I'm like, motherfucker, shred that shit. Right. Are you kidding me? Hard. Like the block was right there. It's not that hard. Like you just put it back in. Like, I don't know, man. Like just sometimes to me, they, in an attempt to be like, we're just simple, we do things simple, it's like you're actually doing it way harder. And if you boiled them motherfucking noodles, okay, and then shredded some fresh Parmesan on there, and look, keep your cream if you want to, put a splash of cream in there, mix that up, got some fresh ground pepper and put it on there, it's a million times better and actually fucking hits harder. And I also guarantee you them noodles was boiled to the point that they literally were fought like you could just motion with your tongue. Like you know when you go with Jell-O, you could do that with them noodles. Like you need a little bit of bite, man, some mouthfeel. What the fuck is wrong with these people?
That's right. Amen, brother. Preach it. All right, well, you want to call it on this one?
Yeah, that'll hit.
All right, well, see y'all next time. Ski.
They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread, but sex they care way too much, but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.